Just gonna set a few things up real quick. Gonna close the door as well. Alright, gonna have to restart this code too. That's fine. Oh no. We should be good. Hold on, let me do something real quick. It's good, Green. Let me put the chat up too. So anybody else can see. Testing. I don't know why Discord's not picking up the mic. Maybe I have to change a few things, or... Oh. Did I get the Wings of Freedom? No, not yet. It was good, Gail. Nice to see you here. How's everything with you, man? Don't mind me, I'm just trying to fix a few things on this. Oh wait, no, now the audio is coming through. Just gonna wait on Densuo and Nitsuano to show up. might as well have a little bit of music on the side. Alrighty. Came to the right stream then. If we can get things going, we might be able to get this proper. Thanks. It's just a standard rig, nothing too spectacular. So what kind of temp job are you doing, by the way? You don't mind me asking. Oh, no, I was talking to Gail in the chat.
Oh, you're live now, okay.
Yeah. I'm just gonna wait on Densuo to show up. Just see if it's ready. Whoops, my bad. Probably need to find a way to get a happy medium. Because Discord is this desktop audio. So I need to find a way in order to separate that too. Sorry. Let's try to get it down a notch. I really blew your ears out again too. Okay. I was mostly concerned about the oh, it sounds slightly muffled. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I was mostly concerned about the desktop, not desktop, the Discord, in case anyone else was speaking.
Well, from my end, your volume is so low, I had to crank you up to 200%.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry for blowing out your ears, guys.
So it's a reverse problem. You're too quiet in here and you're blowing out everyone's ears in Twitch.
Okay, yeah, I probably need to balance this out with the focus right. That way it's not too bad. Lagoon, I'm already on ship 2, man. It's laggy as all hell because everybody's there. All the blocks are filled in the North American servers. So, I don't know much about that other than, yeah. I guess we could probably Is Microsoft messing up? It's a possibility. I guess they weren't expecting a whole lot of people to just bum rush the PC servers. Since that's what everybody was waiting for. Let me dance around this. Yeah, but unfortunately, Microsoft was the one that brought the money, so I guess they were looking for some sort of incentive. Okay, I guess if he's not ready yet, then I can probably start things off. I guess I'll give him probably 2 more minutes before he jumps on. Also, just test something, Nitsuano. Just say something and chat. If you can hear him, just let me know. Otherwise, I can just adjust the things proper.
Okay, test for my volume. Am I too loud, too quiet? I don't know. I'm not even watching the stream.
Okay. Well, you sound good on my end, but I just need to wait on the chat to see if it's too low or not. Probably need to have the mixer open too. Hey, there we go.
Sorry about that. Was just grabbing some dinner real quick. My bad.
That's all good.
Should have mentioned that.
Alrighty. Okay, so he's good. Now I don't have to accidentally blow out your ears again by accident. With the Armor Core music, of course. Okay, so we are finally getting into the heyday of Maxiboost On, just 63 days away from release date. So, thanks to the Scarecrow, the Wu-Tang Scarecrow himself, he suggested an idea to give a bit of a suit spotlight for a bunch of the suits we mostly play in Maxiboost On and what we might be experiencing once we get our hands on the game. So it gives us a chance for us to kind of let everybody know what each suit is about, how the players use them or what they can analyze from them, and ultimately help newer players or players that may be on the fence of what they want to find out when they get their hands on the game, and just see what kind of options they have. So I guess it's just a secondary thing to introduce newer players. Primary thing would always be teaching them the mechanics and all the other things that are important to survive in the game. So I guess this is just a supplemental step to learning the game in general.
Grab other things you needed to grab because I also wanted to just keep an eye.
Okay.
Well, they will learn, Evan, but I think what one thing I wanted to say about that with jumping on what Blue said While you're saying that they're gonna learn through brimstone and fire, um,
And
maybe
become
fire, but a little less brimstone. I
they might
think,
yeah.
I think the game, or at least the community, can do a bit better. No offense to anybody who's trying, but I do think the community can do a bit better. Personally, this is my opinion, not a fact. I want to be clear, this is my opinion. But I feel that the American side of Gundam Versus hasn't done a good enough job of explaining the game or promoting it to beginners. Proof of that, is the following. You can definitely look on websites like Dustloop. There are wikis and so on and so forth. And there are some people who do make, take steps to doing this sort of thing. Like, for example, Cosmic Lullaby, excuse me. Shout out to him. But here's an issue. Let me ask you something. How many videos are you able to pull up right now where a person is actually doing a match analysis? This came to my mind a while ago when I was talking to Shar and Holy Order Shar, NA's America's Best God Gundam, fight me. And I told him, I'm like, yo, I'm concerned about this. I've only seen to this day, well, I only remembered one video where the player was stopping and starting a match in Gundam Versus and explaining what was going on. Even though he was playing people who didn't really know what the hell they were doing, he wasn't being a prick about it. He wasn't, being picky or anything like that. But I looked at it and like, yo, this is rare.
Mhm.
So I think we do need to do a better job in uh, encouraging players to try the game out. Um, because ultimately, even if I'm the poster boy for Salt, um, the game is fun in its own unique way. It can be very intense. And when you get it going, it's a pretty good game. But like I said, I just really I'm hoping that when by us doing this, and then by more people making more content for the game, and knock on wood here, fingers crossed, legs crossed, whatever the hell you want to do, whatever ritual you want to do about this, and that Bandai Namco doesn't go full retard on us and let us post match videos and everything, um and do whatever we got to do to try to push the game and promote it. I'm hoping that with this release, um that we'll be able to make up for, in my opinion, the failure of Gundam Versus in America.
Yep. And it was a kind of a sad thing too because this was probably the first legitimate time that there was an actual versus style game. I'm not counting forces for obvious reasons, but it felt like they dropped the ball in a lot of areas that could have made it a lot stronger. But at the end of the day, the complete package was middling to say the least. But it was just enough in order to leave a lasting impact to those that kind of committed to it, especially players that started with GVS as their first foray into the series. So after
Well,
a
the
while,
other thing, oh, I'm sorry, but here's the thing, Greenboard. Since you're asking it in the chat, part of what hurt Gundam Versus was the fact that boost dive was a polarizing mechanic. The striker system, for the most part, I don't really feel like a lot of people really liked it. When we really think about it, we had so many strikers. But let me ask you, I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna only think of maybe what 5 assists tops that anybody used.
and most of them tend to be either broken or
And it
were
was because and
adjusted.
that's the reason why they were mainly used, because they were broken. Now, I'm not faulting anybody for using broken assists. I mean, if you can put up with people using the broken stuff or the strong stuff in EX versus full boost, then that's not a reason to not go to here. But my thing is, they did that with the intent to give us more variety, but they really didn't think a lot of those assists down. They didn't really think a lot of those assists out. So that ultimately ended up hurting the game too. Um, the other thing too is that they tried a pretty bad monetization model with the DLC, and then they kind of did the same thing that happened with Full Boost, where they did a bit of DLC and then they just went dark. out of nowhere. You know, and that's the thing too. Gundam versus, just like you mentioned, where is it? Where is it? Gale the VO. It's true. We did have one too many useless strikers, except for the hover truck. The 08 MS3 hover truck is awesome.
He's not.
I
He's
will die on that hill.
yeah. He's not gonna.
It was actually not. It was actually decent. But I agree. I think that was and it kind of pisses me off. That pisses me off the same way it pisses me off in Marvel versus Capcom, where there's so many bad assists. I hate that. You know, I know there's going to be some assists that are not as good as others, but I feel if you're going to put content in the game, you can't have it be bad. And the other reason why I was upset with Gundam Versus is, Versus is there we go is in my opinion, again, I'm a scrub. I don't think I'm very good at the game. At my best, I'm just competent. You know, at my worst, I'm just a salty scrub. But I feel that the low-cost suits, specifically the 200s, which would be the equivalent to the 1.5s now, were not very good because of how limiting boosting is, especially with the boost type. So I mean, the only low-cost suit that I was ever comfortable with was the Nemo, because it had that move where you're on the little, I forgot what those things are called, the surfboards.
The Dodai.
There we go. Thank you. When you're on the Blue Falcon Dodai, when you're able to shoot and it has reduced boost. So that was like the one thing that it had, you know. And all the other suits were just really just extremely limited. I think the only other one that was good that was low cost was what, Silver Sumo, I think it was.
Yes, Silver Sumo, Marasai, and Hyzak to some degree.
Yeah, that was about it. So it's like when you're limiting your options like that, and I'm sorry, and the reason why I was upsetting them was because every time I look at high level gameplay, or what I'm assuming is high level gameplay, you're typically seeing 3K 2.5 or 3K 2K. You don't really see, 2.5K with a 1K, or, anything involving a 1K for that matter. So that was just frustrating me.
Yeah, I think a good way to summarize all your thoughts there is they put a lot of stuff in the game that ended up not being used or not being utilized or underutilized because of its power level, and it just led to almost this mass of the correct things to do and the correct things to play, and if you weren't doing it and you were playing against someone who knew what they were doing, it was just a bad experience.
Yeah. And if it's creating a bad experience, then that's going to hurt, because God forbid somebody's playing the game and one of those low-cost suits happens to be a personal favorite, then that's going to kill a bit of interest for the person.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not going to knock on the game completely, because I did enjoy it for the bit of time that I played it. I did have fun with it, and I do feel that the maps in Gundam Versus were at least were mostly pretty decent, I think, as opposed to, I know everybody loves Side 7 in Gundam Verse in EX Versus.
Yep.
But I am going to have to say that at least Gundam Versus did that right. There were more usable maps in Gundam Versus.
I can agree with you on that one too.
At least they had that.
Yeah, there was only a handful of maps that were kind of serviceable. But then again, there's also the blatant bad ones like the Colony Laser, Tekadon.
Wait, Colony Laser, is that the one that had all the noodles in the map?
Yes.
Yeah, and then like
that map
half of the stage being just lifted up randomly.
That map was horrible. That map had so much macaroni and cheese flapping around all over the place. Dear God.
It's a macaroni grill in
itself.
itself.
That was not a fun map to play on.
No, it was not.
Absolutely not.
But the funny thing is, in like probably competitive play, it was actually used to counterpick certain suits, especially messing with funnel suits in particular.
Or anything low cost, because it requires most of your boost to just get up over the curb.
Yeah.
Not only that, but then there's the fact that boost dive, if I'm not mistaken, it took like a specific amount, and that just chunked the crap out of boost from low cost.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that stuff was painful. It was basically like low cost suits couldn't do it.
Okay, let's move on to the main attraction of the show. We just want to go with like a pre-flight checkup, as we have. So, in case if anyone new is listening, we are mostly going to be using arcade notations. So that includes number pad notations, as well as the use of A, B, C, and D. So, if you might be looking at this maybe on YouTube or so, which it will be on either on my channel or if anyone else would be willing to highlight it, then you could just pause it for a moment, just take a bit of time to look around for a bit of information, and we get help from there.
Sounds good.
All right.
If you don't mind, Blue, could you raise your volume just a bit, please?
Okay. I'll see if I could do that, and hopefully not blow anybody's ears out again. Fortunately, I have the Focusrite Solo 3rd generation, so I can easily adjust the audio a little bit so it's not too overpowering. And no, that was not a promotion or anything like that. It's just a good product.
I can agree. I also have one.
Okay, so Nitsuano, you can introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Nitsuano, but really, both you guys and anyone else can just call me Nits. It's easier, shorter. I've been playing Gundam since Full Boost. On and off as of recent, I had a move over the past 2 years, and since then I've had a downgrade in internet connection. I haven't been able to play too much Gundam, but I'm making do with what I can, which is why I'm trying to lean into the content creation angle now. While I have all this free time, may as well do something with it.
Right.
I'm here to talk about Age FX, which is easily my favorite suit. I decided to play it in Maxi based off of its appearance, not necessarily. Oh, actually, am I skipping ahead a bit? Maybe on the questions.
No, you're good. You're good.
We're not. Even though we have I'm gonna be honest. Even though we have a quote unquote script, do you whatever's comfortable for you, you do it.
Sure. I'm just not sure what kind of extents I need to go to as an introduction.
Nah,
but
this is our first time. This is our first time doing it, bro. You're popping the cherry.
bro. All right. So
Yamete.
Yeah. So I picked Age FX based off of design. I actually didn't watch Age before I started playing the suit in Japan, but after playing the suit and after liking it so much, I decided to go watch Age. And as much as people dislike it, I actually genuinely really like the show. But that's completely unrelated to Versus.
Good question. Since you mentioned that, why do people not like Gundam Age?
From what I can tell, it's the immense amounts of plot holes and the general poor treatment of the women characters in the show.
Okay, and then the other question, you already basically answered it for me. Because I was always wondering if even I know the show is called Gundam Age, I was wondering if the Gundams themselves are referred to Gundam AGE. But okay.
Yeah, no, I think they call it Age in like the Age system.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right, so just like you mentioned, you picked the suit because you like how it looks, and no relation to the character or anything like that. But then you at least ended up enjoying the show for the most part when you did give it a.
Okay.
Right. Now, so the minute you pick, so when did you start playing? This was H3, right?
Age FX.
Or Age FX. Oh no, Age FX. Age FX. Sorry. So Age FX, is that like the third? Which one is it? Is it like a upgraded version of a previous one?
It's the final iteration from the anime. So the first generation for the first cycle is Age 1, and then once he has a son, his son pilots the Age 2, his son piloted the Age 3, and then the Age 3 got upgraded to the Age FX.
Yeah, so it's pretty much generational kind of mobile suit.
Yes.
And then, so as you mentioned, you've been playing since Full Boost, so you never played Vanilla EX Versus. Did you play Gundam
played
Versus?
Vanilla, but I didn't play while it was out. I played Vanilla after the fact. I bought Vanilla and played Vanilla while Full Boost was still a thing.
Ditto. And then for Maxiboost, did you play Maxiboost before the beta and getting on?
Yes, I took a trip to Japan both in 2017 and 2018, And during both my trips, I played a very substantial amount of Maxiboost.
So let me ask you something then. What was the skill level difference between Japanese players and American players to you?
Well, when you go into the arcades and there's nobody else around, you're just going to go play the shuffle with the online. So it puts you with your rank, shuffles you with anyone else playing throughout Japan. So I was obviously at the lower skill level since I was a new account. But I noticed by the end of my trip, I was about second tier bronze, about halfway through that, and the skill level was pretty solid overall. I didn't notice any real egregiously like why the hell did they do that? That was a really stupid idea. Most of the players were all actually fairly decently skill leveled at the bronze level. And then I also went to a couple of the shuffle tournaments. I don't know if you guys have been seeing the common. I don't know what he goes by in Japanese, but he does weekly shuffle tournaments and he posts them on YouTube. I participated in a couple of those and I lost horribly in all of them, but they were fun and the competition was great and varying skill levels. I think I wasn't even the only bronze that participated. I looked around at all the other competition. I'm like, oh, am I gonna end up losing horribly? Are all these guys in like gold and I'm just gonna get ranched? But no, I saw a couple silvers, maybe a couple bronzes. It seems like your rank, while yes, skill level would play a part of that, time played in the game probably also helps. The longer you've played, the more games you've got in, so the higher you can get in the ranking.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right.
So it seems to have like a variance of skill levels too.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So one thing I want to do, want to see how this works out for us. Hey Blue, you have the link for the match video that he gave us, right?
Yes, I have it in the DM.
Okay. So I can go ahead and play the video on the stream so people can watch it. Okay. And while it's watching on the stream, we can have Nits go over the basics of the suit for us and give us his opinions and all that good stuff.
Okay, just gonna bring it up now. I'm just gonna get rid of this too.
So I guess I can put up a bit of context to this match footage. These matches are recorded all in my 2018 trip at Koenji Cube.
Nice.
Also, if you want me to pause for a moment, just let me know.
You know, when I looked at this the first time, I thought those things that were sticking out were like funnels.
They are actually. Some of them are.
Yeah, those are sea funnels, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they are the sea funnels.
So the suits are 3K, right?
Yep, 3K. When you want me to start going into specifics, let me know. I can't have the stream up because, like I mentioned, I have very shitty internet. If I try to start watching the stream while this is going on,
oh no, that's okay. We just have the video going so people can look at how it looks. I was actually gonna just bug you with a couple of questions.
Yeah, okay, sure. I'll answer whatever.
So, first things first, I do notice that its main seems to be an always reloading shot. It does have a CSA. Now, this suit. Let me just ask a couple of questions too. How easy is the suit? Would you say for a beginner player?
I'd say it's actually fairly easy. It's bare bones weapons, like just in its main form. Because I should mention it has two forms. It has the regular and then the FX burst mode. Its regular form attacks are all fairly standard. It's got a beam rifle. It's got an assist. It's got funnels. It's nothing too complicated. It's got a fast fall, just one fast fall. There's not a very high skill ceiling, I'd say. And then once you go into FX burst, the suit flips, and it still is fairly easy to understand. It's an aggressive melee suit with some decent self-defense options, but again, all overall very easy to understand and easy to figure out what you're supposed to be doing at what parts of the
Is FX mode when the green funnel thing starts glowing blue?
Yes, that is either activated when you're at yellow health or lower, or when you burst, like most other form change shoots like Banshee and such.
All right. So that mode, you said it turns it into a melee specialist?
Yes, the suit has a couple of its buttons change. and it gains a lot more melee prowess. It has higher damaging melee combos, harder to cut melee combos.
Okay.
And do you notice like a bit of a range difference in comparison to the normal mode, or?
I don't really notice a whole lot in terms of range difference. You're still trying to play around the same range anyway, and most of its buttons, like its beam rifle, it changes at least visually. I haven't been able to determine much of a difference between the beam rifles. It probably increases the power a little bit, but beyond that, I haven't noticed much in terms of beam rifle either range or anything of the sort changing when you go into FX burst.
And
all right, now, sorry, go ahead, Blue. Go ahead.
so I guess I might be jumping ahead a bit, but what would you say would be the preferable burst for this kind of suit? I know they're using extend, but I'm just wondering what would be the best way to optimally use.
Yeah, I'm using extend, and it can definitely go, I'd say, either in extend or fighting. The FX does not benefit from shooting burst really at all, because once you burst, you're locked into FX mode, and at that point, your only ranged weapons are your main and your C funnels, which aren't very good things to start spamming with the shoot burst reload timer. So melee, again, melee is good because, or fighting burst is good because once you go into FX mode, your melee that already got stronger gets even stronger. So if you know that you want to do some swings in the match, if you want to suddenly shift the match immediately into your team's favor, maybe fighting burst is what you'd want to use. However, I use extended burst because I go for the more versatile and self-defense nature of HFX. The HFX has a pretty good number of buttons that can help it in self-defense. It has a counter. It's got an assist that you can throw out just before you're getting hit, and most of the time it'll break you out of it. It's even got a shield assist on an entirely different button, and a panic getaway button that just kind of launches you in a direction wherever you need to go. It's very prickly, so having it in extend burst allows me to fluctuate very easily throughout the match. If something bad's going on, like if my partner ended up getting double locked and he died before me, I can just back off immediately. If I need to make a quick push, but I have a half burst or an extend burst, that's fine. I can burst, get into FX burst, make a play, back off once it wears off.
That's good. So overall, even though you feel that fighting burst would be good for it, you still feel that optimally, or at least for your playstyle, you would go with extend burst.
Absolutely.
So you did mention the FX mode as being a strength of the suit, but let me ask you something: is there any mechanic or tool that the suit has that you don't like?
Ooh, that I don't like. I did mention it has a getaway button when it's in regular mode. It's BC assist when you hit in any direction. So if you do it neutral, the Dark Hound comes out and spins its little wire thing as a shield. But if you hold in any direction, he'll grab onto the Dark Hound when it's in plane mode and fly in that direction. While it's good to kind of quickly get out of situations, I have a hard time figuring out proper times to use it where optimal movement isn't just better. I wouldn't say necessarily I hate the button, but it is definitely a little difficult to get used to and compared to just trying to use your regular movement to avoid things.
Okay, that sounds sensible. No, this suit wasn't in Full Boost and Gundam Versus, so can't really talk about what was changed to it too much. Were there any changes that it was in patches, or it's relatively untouched that you're aware of?
That I'm aware of, it was relatively untouched. I did try to follow a lot of Maxiboost's updates as it was in arcades, looking out for the suits I enjoyed, and I don't remember a whole lot happening with HFX. It was never really an egregious powerhouse. It's sitting firmly in A tier right now, I think. But it was never like oppressively powerful, so I don't know if they ever needed to go adjust it in any sort of way.
All right.
And another thing I probably want to ask too, what would you say would be the most effective range for HFX in general? I know you mentioned that it's not as strong, but I guess if you're playing against a suit that has a lot more range options to counter it, what would you say would be the best way to work around?
interesting you mentioned that because in preparation for this, I decided to take a look at the wiki for HFX, something I've never looked at before today, to see maybe what they had on the suit, if it was anything different from what I thought. And I noticed that they did mention that the suit does struggle a little bit versus range heavy suits, namely the EXS was mentioned on the wiki as a suit that it could struggle against. Because when it's not in FX burst, it, like I said, it's got very simple buttons that can work to its pros, but it also to its downside. You don't have a whole lot you can do in that form. You're struggling to make plays. If you have, I'm sure you have the match footage going right now. While I'm in regular mode, a lot of the confirms I'm getting and a lot of the big hits I'm getting are from the CSA. Just
Oh.
landing good CSA landing punishes is honestly how I feel to be an optimal way to move around and play when you're in FX, regular FX. So when you're against suits that have guns that outgun you, you're gonna have to leverage your teammate a little bit to try and get an opportunity to get in if they're walling you out too hard, or use your burst to get in with FX burst.
Okay. And Gail asked a question. The HFX has a certain buff in burst mode that has the funnel circle you for a little while. What's the purpose of that?
Yes, so once you activate FX burst, you'll have an empty on your up weapons gauge, and that's going to slowly start to refill as you play throughout the FX burst. The refill takes just long enough that if you, I think, full extend burst, you will just barely not be able to have it go out. But that is your shield. So it functions mostly like the Keradim shields or the Excelia shields, where you can just put them on yourself or you put them on your teammate and they block a couple shots. So really, you can use that like you would any other suit. Just put it on yourself if you need it, your teammate if you need it. But you can also put it on yourself and then do the dash, the AC dash that the FX burst HFX gets, and the combination of the shot guard from the dash, as well as the protection from the shield, makes you, I'd say, for the most part, nearly unstoppable unless you get countered or stepped out of the way. You can't really get shot at to stop you from coming, because I think even I remember there was a weird property about the shield, and I think it was it blocked explosives, which shields like that typically didn't do. So, and notably the shot guarded dash doesn't block explosives. So if you would do that at a suit, even if they were bazooka you, beam rifle you, you'd go right through and continue with your melee combo.
Yeah, that's an interesting property. Probably a lot more resilient than Quanta's, but still has its applications.
Oh yeah, but like I said, it has its time. It takes time to actually get to it. You have to get to FX burst, and then you have to stay alive while you're in FX burst for a non-minimal amount of time. Like it's actually a pretty substantial amount of time you're gonna have to wait to get that shield up.
Okay. And if anyone else has,
like Quanta's shooting guard, then.
Yeah, it's just very situational at times, from what I'm gathering.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the limited access to it, it can feel like it's fairly situational.
Okay.
And in the chat, if you have any other questions or any comments you want to bring up, don't be afraid to ask now.
Yes, please. I will love to answer any question about HFX. I will talk about this suit until people tell me to stop.
I just only wish we had a model kit of it too. Well, a master grade of it.
I'm gonna throw one more. So I'm actually gonna throw one more at you. Actually, speaking of which, going by what you're telling me, it sounds like it's pretty decent. Okay, it can hold its own at range, but then in melee range, is that where it really wants to be then? Like
if you're an FX burst, yes. If you're not an FX burst, though, absolutely not. The suit's regular form melee is okay to abysmal. It doesn't do a whole lot, though it does notably have a shot-guarded 8B, which is not irrelevant. I think actually...
8B?
Yeah, shot-guarded 8B, yeah. Yeah, I can explain that a little bit. So just holding forward and attack, he'll dash forward a little bit with the seed funnel circling in front of him. So anything that shoots you when you're like that will just get absorbed. and then you'll just follow into a light melee attack. It doesn't combo into itself. You actually gonna have to step and then continue your melee combo if you land the shot guarded hit. But it does have it.
Yeah, it looks like Blue just highlighted the stream
Yep.
right now, actually. Okay, because I think you looked like you landed that in the video, actually.
Yeah, actually, one of those 3 matches, I did hit a shot guarded melee.
I see like he's holding the beam saber to the right side, and then there's like a blue, like a circle kind of thing in front of him.
And it seems
Yeah,
like he also had
that's
1 point of
exactly
armor too. Yeah.
I didn't even notice if it had armor or not.
It surprisingly did. I don't know if it was it's double Zeta, and I think it was using its main, and it had 1 point of armor that stuffed the hit before getting hit with everything else. So that's an interesting property.
Good
and
eye
I
there,
should
Blue,
say,
good eye.
I think I mentioned this before in passing, but in regular form, AgeFX's 2B is also a counter, which again helps with its prickly self-defense nature.
Okay. Now, with what you're telling me, this is kind of reminding me of Turn X a little bit in regards to your partner. Me personally, I feel that Turn X is not strong enough on its own to warrant a back player that can pick whatever the hell suit they want. It sounds like what you're telling me that there's going to be some clear preferences on your backs. So that was going to be my next question, actually. What suit or cost range would you prefer as a back for?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of experience playing Team Hold with the AgeFX because the only opportunity I got was the closed beta. So I'm not super familiar on what specific suits I'd like to be playing with the suit. However, I do know cost range, and that would be 2.5k.
So you definitely want a 2.5 with him.
Yeah, a 2.5 that can make plays. So something not like Keradim. Something that when I'm in regular FX mode, I am able to kind of do my shooty thing and have my partner not be crippled about the fact that I'm not going and shanking the nearest person to me. So, but on the other hand, like I mentioned, I looked at the wiki and I saw they had a very interesting idea for a team comp that can work. I mentioned the prickly self-defense nature of AgeFX, and that can work if you have a 1.5k partner. They specifically mention actually Rigazi as a specific team comp of AgeFX Rigazi, where you just go 1 life AgeFX, you never die, and you let that Rigazi go in and just cause as much havoc as possible, while you kind of shoot from the back, make sure nobody touches you because of all your defense buttons, and support the plane that's flying around shooting people.
Yeah, and Rigazi was pretty strong in Maxiboost On too. So
wait, say it again.
Rigazi is extremely good in Maxiboost On, so you can pretty much let that thing terrorize for the entire match.
Yeah, and then if just so happens that things went a little south, and maybe by the 2nd or 3rd life of your Rigazi, you ended up getting hit, you're down to yellow life, well, now you have FX Burst. So you can maybe give the Rigazi your shield if you get that point. You can go in and get one person out of the way with a melee combo to let the other person get shot by the Rigazi. You got all kinds of options on that end. And then another team comp with a similar playstyle that I noticed is with the Susanoo. Where basically it's identical playstyle. You just use 3 Transams from the Susanoo. You just give it 3 lives and just let it go in and terrorize people, while the AgeFX sits back and almost plays like a 3k back.
That's actually pretty interesting. Okay, actually, I'm looking at the match video, I wouldn't have thought that it was going to be able to really play a 30k back style. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what would you say is the main weakness of the suit? You mentioned that its melee is not exactly great in its normal mode.
Yeah, I'd say its weakness is its normal mode. When it's in its normal mode, it can be bullied fairly easily if you're not experienced with the suit. Like I said, it's got a lot of good self-defense buttons, but you gotta know how to use them. Another big concern that even the wiki brought up is you can just be ignored. If you're in regular mode, they can just ignore you if you're not trying to be proactive enough with your plays. The suit doesn't have very many flashy buttons. Its regular assist is a Garaby that shoots some very, very strongly tracked missiles that can be very annoying and can actually cause a lot of issues for the enemy team. But with good stepping and good situational awareness, the Age FX is fairly ignorable if they decide to do that.
Nice. So that's one. For lack of a better term, a loud back.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put that. Is the Age FX prefers a very loud back.
Okay, makes sense as to why you did not share Sheridan Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
But Regazi can be pretty loud and obnoxious. And then you have another suit that is basically moved around. So okay, so one more question then. How about a melee?
I think a melee suit can work. I think actually the build I mentioned of the give the Susa 3 lives is actually pretty similar to that, where I guess a balanced melee build wouldn't be let your partner go and take 3 lives, but you can use that similar sort of a strategy in a match with a more balanced life alternation, I'd say, because especially with when you get into FX burst, your combos can occupy a person for quite a while. So if you have one person already being meleeed, you just go melee the other person, and then now they're both locked down. I think it definitely can work having a melee back.
Okay, 3 asks a question. How did it fare against more aggressive shooters like Nightingale?
Yeah, like I mentioned, EXS was another fairly terrible example of what happens when you go against a shooty suit. It doesn't fare very well versus shooty suits unless it's in FX burst, because, like I mentioned, the shot guarded melee, it doesn't go very far. And that's basically all you have in terms of protection from guns when you're in regular FX mode. As for how you'd go about it and how you go about the matchup and trying to leverage it, at this point, the best I could say is get good, because I don't know. You have to outplay them at that point because they've just got better guns than you, and if you can't outplay them, you just have to hope that you can outplay them once you get an FX burst.
Alrighty. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, I have one more. So going with that, I want to make sure I understood you properly.
Sure.
You mentioned that the HFX can give a partner a shield.
Yes, so that the FX burst shield that with the very long recharge time that I mentioned, if you just hold a direction, so be it forward, back, side, left, right, doesn't matter. If you do that, it'll give it to your partner instead of putting it on yourself.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And another question
Alright.
from 3. Do you feel confident in FX burst against a unit like Bale or Full Saber in a melee fight?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there may even be a match versus Bile in the 3 that I sent. I'm not certain.
Yes, there was one. It was in the first match.
Yeah. I didn't notice much of an issue in the Bile matchup because I may have kind of just standard guns, but I still have guns, which is something the Bile doesn't like. And even in in FX burst, I still also have a gun, which again, Bile doesn't like. So really just shot confirming into melee, like main into boost dash melee on Bile works perfectly fine. Keeping a good distance away from Bile, also fine. I think even in the video that I sent, when I'm in regular mode, the Bile's coming after me, I just sit there and counter twice because there's nothing much the Bile can do to a counter.
Okay. Going by what you're telling me, it sounds like this suit doesn't sound very beginner friendly to me. This suit sounds like a suit that can be very good, but you need to have an understanding of the game, and you also need to have situational awareness to be able to do good with this. Would that be correct?
No, you know what? You're totally right. I think my full boost, my experience from playing all the way since full boost, I'm thinking, this suit's easy, right? I learned this pretty quickly. But no, what you just said, I think, is actually completely correct. The suit does require a fairly large amount of situational awareness in order to use its tools properly. So Yeah, I guess I could retract what I said before. Maybe it's not a easy suit to learn. It's easy to learn
Well,
its buttons, but not easy to learn how to play it.
I think, well, the game is easy enough to pick up, but I guess the term I was looking for was more, you can't, this suit isn't exactly a suit that you can just go in with blindly. You do have to have, you do have to know what you're doing. So this is one of those suits where it's more demanding on the player. But no, yeah, it wouldn't be beginner friendly.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. I agree.
all right. So then I think we're more or less done asking questions on the suit. So I have one more question to ask you, and oh wait, Greenboard said something. If you use F burst, you can unga bunga. Would you say that's true?
Oh, absolutely, because like I mentioned, when you burst, you immediately go into FX burst. So F burst, FX mode, your melee combos are going to do just absolutely absurd damage, and you're going to be so insanely fast. You'll be very much a force to be reckoned with a F bursted FX.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually brings up one more question after. When you go into FX burst, is there a startup animation or anything like that?
Yes, there is, and there may be an example of it in the 3 matches. I'm not certain,
Okay,
but
I'll
you
sit
are
here.
invincible during the transformation, like Unicorn and Banshee. So if you are in white health when you're getting melee comboed and the melee combo brings you down to yellow health, if you just kind of lay on the ground while someone's trying to sit there and oki you, just kind of slow get up as normal, and then as soon as you get up, as soon as you're able to, you'll do the transformation, which, so the entire time of you getting up and the transformation is all invincible. And most people don't realize that, so I'll just get a free melee combo right after because they're trying to melee me while getting up, and I'm invincible.
Mm-hmm. And I guess my question is this one. For both modes, what would you say would be its go-to buttons where it could be a bit of a bully, so to speak?
Okay, in regular mode, it's CSA. I think in all 3 of those matches, I am hitting CSA at an almost constant basis. I'm almost always charging that if I'm not just firing my main. It's free, there's no ammo to it. It's a fairly fast charge time. It's a big beam. It travels fairly quickly. It's fairly consistent. I think it's probably regular FX's best button.
Mm-hmm.
Easy. So just kind of alternating that with just main shots here and there, and kind of putting out your funnels, which actually I can talk a little bit about the funnels. In the match videos, I typically use the funnels as a lot of movement control. Its fast fall is the funnels, so you could use it just for that as the fast fall. But I like to kind of, put a couple shots out and then end with just a set of funnels. If they move as they should be and move kind of away from what I'm doing, they won't get hit. But if they make a fuck up, am I allowed to swear on this? I don't know.
Yes, you are.
Go for it, bro.
Okay, yeah, if they fuck
Go on.
up, or they stop their movement, or they overheated, they're going to get hit by the C funnels, and I'm able to pick up on that. There is actually, I know that there's a clip in one of the matches, and I wish I could point it out and tell you where it is, where I'm kind of moving horizontally with another suit, and I throw out some funnels, just kind of control its movement, and then he lands next to a building, I think probably because he was out of boost, and then the funnels eventually slowly caught up to him and ended up hitting him, and the rest of the game he didn't get hit by them, but that one time that I did it, it's like, it shows me like, hey, maybe that actually works as a strategy to kind of just, even if they're not landing hits, just throwing them out there to make sure people are moving is sometimes more than enough.
Mm-hmm. Another question from 3.
3P asked a question. Do MG units beat out FX burst?
No, if you're being dashed at, the AC dash on the FX burst is the shot guarded dash. If you're being dashed at and you just kind of hold down your machine gun at the thing that's running at you, it's just all going to get sucked up and you're going to get hit. The machine guns will not save you from the FX burst dash.
Oh. Huh.
All right, so let me see. Greenboard said that he feels that the Age FX isn't easy to play. So, but I want to be clear more than before. I should have mentioned that before. This is me asking in case of opinion. Like in my opinion, it sounds like this isn't a suit that you'll be able to win with easily and beat derp with. Like when I'm talking about derp, I'm talking about like in comparison to, let's say, full boost, or I'm talking like full armor unicorn, which is pretty easy mode,
Yeah.
or blitz or sandrock. I'm talking about like easy mode like that. I feel like this suit, you actually have to use your brain at least a little bit and have a good understanding about the suit, as opposed to like with suits like sandrock or whatever. It's just, yeah, just do this and you're fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I think what you mentioned about all those suits is those suits have very powerful tools and tools that are very immediately present to be powerful. Like you can just hit it and say, "Wow, yeah, I can see why this is strong." The Age FX doesn't have really many of those buttons. When you get an FX burst, yeah, some of its buttons seem like, "Oh yeah, that seems pretty good." But again, that's a late stage of the game, low life total burst mode. So of course you'd be pretty good during that time. All of the regular mode buttons aren't very impactful. They aren't very flashy. They aren't doing a whole lot of different or powerful stuff. They're just kind of solid buttons that have set uses for when you need to be using them in those situations. So, yeah, for someone like me who's been playing the suit since 2017, I might say, yeah, that suit seems easy to play, but there's definitely room for Densuo to come in and say, yeah, no, actually, from what you're saying, this suit doesn't seem very easy. It requires a lot of thought that I've already kind of come accustomed to that I don't actively think about. It's sort of just become secondhand nature to me.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that green board. Green board says, I don't know, I find FAUC harder to play than HFX. Maybe I'm dumb. No, that's perfectly fine. If you feel this, look, even though there is a meta in the game, right? Using full boost as an example again, where FAUC, in my opinion, was dumb. Same with Banshee Norn, etc. Just because a suit is strong or the strongest doesn't guarantee that you can take anybody and have them play the game and just have them pick up the suit and win. It's
Oh,
more
yeah.
likely, sure, but at the end of the day, I still subscribe, at least in this game, I do still subscribe to you have to at least feel good with the game that you're playing and the suit or the character that you're playing. Because even if the character is strong or the suit is strong, if you're not enjoying it or you're not really understanding what it's supposed to do, but then you can understand a suit or character that's just similar enough, but has its own little differences and that flows better for you, then that's fine.
Oh yeah, preach, man. Like that's the kind of mindset I want to really spread to specifically new players is don't concern yourself so much with tier lists or what's good or what's bad. Just if you like Gundam, pick your favorite Gundam and play it, man.
Yeah.
Like
Your dick.
the game has enough universal systems that you can learn the game with mostly any suit and you can have fun with mostly any suit.
Yeah, pick your dick, bro. Pick your dick.
Yeah,
Mike. So, with that in mind, I'm going to ask one more question since we're on
sure,
this
sure.
topic. This is actually the last question I wanted to ask. Do you have any advice for beginners? Not specifically with your suit. I'm talking about beginners, just people that are interested in the game or who tried the beta. Because there was a video that we made a while ago where me and Blue got on the case of a person who said that the beta was mostly for people who have already played the game, and it came across as a game where, as it was trying to, it came across to me saying this isn't good for beginners. So, as a guy who gets salty at times, trying to be better about it, of course, what would you say is what would be your main piece of what would be your main piece of advice for beginners, pitfalls,
Before
etc.?
Before I jump into that, I do kind of want to piggyback off what you were just mentioning about the beta. And I did dabble a little bit into the random casual matches. I played most of my time with a group of people that I've always been playing Gundam with. But I did dabble a little bit into the casual random queue to see what it was like in there. And yeah, I can see why some people were getting frustrated and upset because I went in there with HFX and I felt like I didn't have much of a fight put up against me. It didn't seem like most people knew what they were doing, and it was to the point where it almost felt like I was being unfair to these people with the kind of stuff I was putting them through. So I can definitely see why some people were complaining about that. which is why we're doing what we're doing now, trying to get resources for people to learn the game. And I could do the lazy thing and say, yeah, just my suggestion would be watch the video that I'm working on. That's a tutorial video on how to learn the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I can actually give an answer, and I think it's movement. I think prioritizing movement and learning how to move is by far the most important thing that you need to learn in Gundam, and should be the priority that you learn.
Exactly. Because you're
Alright,
always going to run
so-
into like new players that probably can play on like a surface level, but the moment you see them move in a certain way, it's like blood in the water in a pool full of
Exactly.
sharks.
Like a good example that when I was in casual matches that I noticed that was pretty egregious from a player was the Age Effects has, when you do its Age 1 assist, neutral is the Garaby, but if you do any of the directions, it's a melee assist where he comes out, hits you, stuns you for a little bit, and then fires a beam shot that knocks you down. I was able to basically put a person on loop with that button. I hit them with it, it knocks them down, and I just time it so right as when they got up, it hit them again. Because they didn't move when they got up, they kind of just sat there for a little bit, and they gave me an opportunity to just kind of constantly lock them in place with this assist over and over again every single time they got up.
Yep. And it's either they're walking a lot or they're stepping a lot, kind of misconstruing the idea of the improperly named boost step. I
Well,
guess that's why.
to be fair, that's something that's not really intuitive. People don't see that people don't see people pressing those buttons. So
Mm-hmm.
some
That's
people won't know any better. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of what happened before. When like, let me give you an example. You know, that's where it comes to people who know what they're doing to tell people in a respectful fashion. Let me give you an example. I went to Waypoint Cafe where Blue and a couple of guys were there to set up a session. There was a guy who had played the game before, but not too much, and he was playing Exia. So he was not aware that you can fire the beam rifle successfully in successive fashion. You don't have to, shoot, boost, shoot, boost, shoot. You don't have to do the Zunda to fire it rapidly. You could just mash the button 3 times and off the shots go. So I told him that while he was in the middle of a match because he was having trouble hitting things, and next thing you know, he just dumped the 3 shots, and oh wait, I can do that. And he had that little moment of discovery. So that's when, if you know what you're doing, you should definitely help. Should definitely help players instead of just doing the whole get good bullshit. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you do gotta tell players, hey, get good, but and it feels nice telling somebody, hey, get good, because you had to put up with it yourself. But don't be a dick. If somebody genuinely doesn't know something and they're asking a question, or maybe they're missing a key point of a suit, let them know, hey, hey, are you experienced with the suit? You know how the suit goes? Are you aware of this? Be polite about it. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
But I think that's a thing that we need to do. I think honestly, matter of fact, I'm gonna say it like this. I think one of the pitfalls for beginners in this game are us the players.
I agree. I think I actually agree.
Because there's a lot of people who, and this is the FGC thing, honestly, because I do consider Gundam Versus to be kind of a sort of kind of FGC kind of. Hard Knocks is a good way to for learning. Sometimes the school of Hard Knocks teaches very good lessons, but the thing is that rough mentality of the arcades, that's a thing of the past. Way back when we had to fucking dunk quarters into machines to fucking play. So everybody wasn't wanting to spend 450, to freaking go and try to kick this one guy off the damn game. You know what I'm saying? So people would want to high tech or not do whatever. But at the end of the day, nowadays everybody's paid for the game. We ain't playing for quarters right now, unless we're going to like little conventions. And even then, conventions got them at free play now.
Mm-hmm.
So don't go hiding. Let people know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's an informational
let people know
age.
what's going on. Help people get better, because if you look, I'm gonna be honest. I have more fun personally. I have more fun when I'm teaching people how to play a game, or I'm showing them. Not because I want to feel like I'm better than them or something, but because I genuinely enjoy when people have those aha moments. when they realize something and then they figure something out, and now they're moving. Like when you have a person who's just moving around normally, and then they're able to boost dash and use their special movement and so on and so forth. You know, like when I had that guy at that session, and I told him about that with the beam rifle for Exia, he almost immediately scored a punishment. And then since he was struggling with his movement, I told him about how he can also use I think it's forward melee or forward BC, I believe it is for Exia to do the Super Mario jump that they like to call it.
Yeah, I think it's like either
Yeah.
8 or 2 BC.
Yeah, and then there's also the move where he kind of cartwheels and throws the daggers. I'm like, hey, you got to use your presence. You can scare them with your range, but you're gonna close in on him because he has priority. But what you really want to do is you don't have to. You can just bait out punishes with the dagger, and then land your triple beam rifle to knock him down if you don't feel like you're gonna be able to close in on him. Next thing you know, he waits a little bit. He sees the guy coming into land. He throws a dagger. He hits with it. He boosts out of it. Beam rifle, beam rifle, beam rifle, and he's just like, yeah, I got him. You know, that's don't be the pitfall yourself. We can give players advice all the time, and we can post useful shit. But if you're gonna have sessions with players, if a player is upset, let them vent a little bit, let them cool off or whatever, and then later on you can talk to them in private and give them genuine advice. But if you genuinely want to help a player out or you want people to improve, reach out and help them. Don't just fucking do that get good shit. It doesn't help. Making somebody get more pissed off or making them fucking rage quit or whatever, yeah, sure, it feels nice. And, the whole scrub coats thing, it's enjoyable and go for a laugh too. But you got to remember, Gundam is it's a niche community. All right. So we're going to be attracting new players when this game comes out. A lot of us are excited. A lot of us are excited for M-Bond coming out. But just remember, we had that issue with Gundam Versus, having its issue. So, if anybody who was a beginner or just started with Gundam Versus, they're going to have that sour taste in their mouth. Even more so if you had a bunch of players telling them get good when they were being crappy in the game. And then we move on to M-Bond where everybody's more or less giving it universal praise. We're going to have those skeptical people. If we want this community to grow, we want this game to be enjoyable, you got to take it upon yourself to, be more inviting. Okay,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a team effort in this regard, guys.
Yeah.
And the people who started with Versus are going to have even more problems because the movement in Maxi is so different from the way you would move in Versus. And most of us, who are at least somewhat familiar with it because we've played full boost, but
Yeah.
these other players are not nearly in as good of a spot as we are.
All right, hold on, Ragnar. So I'm gonna tell you something that a friend of mine told me when I played League of Legends.
You there?
I see his light going on, but I don't hear anything. Is there something going on my end?
Yeah, I think. Densuo, you there?
Okay, so it's not just my end. Yeah, so he's perpetually lit up right now like he's talking, but nothing's coming out.
Might be Discord again or something on his side. But, Densuo, if you can hear us, just type it out in the chat just in case.
Yeah, or try like disconnecting and reconnecting or something along those lines.
Yeah. But I guess what I can say is there's no problem with getting carried. The only thing is that you have to learn what you can improve upon from both the partner you've been playing with and what you can do to improve upon it. Always look back at the replays and see how those interactions come about and how you can kind of game plan a little bit. Because in this game, yeah, your mic just apparently cut out for some odd reason. No, there's no problem there too because yep, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, there we go. That was weird. Where did I drop off at?
You were just about to mention the League of Legends allegory.
Okay, so with League of Legends, here's what happened, right? I had a match in League of Legends where I was getting carried by a teammate. The guy was on top lane, and I was the support. So, unfortunately, me and my ADC, we got our faces kicked in. It happens. Thing is, our top laner was doing great. So I'm like, hey, our top lane is doing fine. I told the jungler, look, I told my ADC, I'm like, look, we're struggling. Let's just play defensive. Let's just survive, and let's let the jungler let the top laner, steamroll because the top laner is already starting to dominate. The ADC got butt hurt. They're playing Vayne, and a lot of Vayne players think they can always 5v1 at every goddamn time. So this person kept getting frustrated and kept trying to aggressively go after the enemy ADC in support. So I'm like, yo, they're gonna get fed. If they get any more ahead of us, we're gonna be useless later, and then it's gonna waste the advantage the top laner has. You need to chill. So what I wanted to say about it is this, Ragno. I understand your frustration. I know where you're coming from. You don't want to be dead weight. You know what I'm saying? You want to be able to help your partner. You want to be able to cut properly. You want to be able to help with punishes, etc., etc. You want to cut properly, all that good jazz, all that jazz. But here's the thing: if your teammate is busting ass, let him bust ass. You're still winning. Winning feels good. Of course, acknowledge the fact that you need to do better. Go over your match videos, etc. But if it happens where you're getting carried, hey, get carried. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
W
just
W.
As
take it
long as
stride
your
and learn from
partner,
it.
as long as your partner isn't being a prick about it, you're fine. If you were really struggling, if you're playing like in a session with people, then maybe you can ask them, hey, what did I do wrong? Why was I getting what happened that I was just getting my ass kicked all the time? Maybe you were reacting to something incorrectly. Maybe you were just guessing wrong on certain wake ups. It happens. But don't let that make you mad. If you played poorly, that's okay. But if your partner bails you out, great. Because not only did you at least win, because hey, people love winning, but you can still learn. Okay, people say that winning you don't really learn as much from winning, but that's not true. Because remember, one of the biggest benefits that this game offers us is, unlike a regular fighting game where it's a one-on-one, you only have one camera to look at that match in a fighting game. When you're looking at Gundam Versus and you're looking back at your match videos, you actually have, you know, 4 different player cameras to look at the match from, not to mention looking at it from from bird's eye view. So, you can take the time to observe and see what you may have done wrong. So, trust me, losing sucks. Doing poorly sucks, especially in a team game where you can waste somebody's effort. But if you're winning, don't let it get you down. Look at the match videos.
And
Look
to
at the
even
match videos and look at the match videos with someone else. Because sometimes you may not be able to see what exactly you did wrong in your own play. You might be able to see what the other person did, and you may be able to understand that better. But if you don't, save a match video, go over with some friends. Can't hurt.
Yeah,
Yep.
to piggyback on that, that's basically how I learned the game. I have two friends of mine who they've been partners in Gundam since Full Boost, or actually maybe even Vanilla, and they've always played together, and specifically against me when I was practicing to learn the game. They definitely taught me through the trial by fire method, but were always willing to sit down with me in Discord, go open up some of the replays that we played with matches with all of us in it, and then go over it from my perspective so they can say like, hey, this is something that I did, or maybe you can do this here, and I'll point out things, and they can say, yeah, you're right with that, or whatever. Having people that you can talk to about the game is very, very important, and I'd almost say it's just as important as having a set partner. Now, it's obviously not everyone's going to have immediately someone that they can just call upon and say, hey, yeah, we're going to be immediately partners for all of Maxiboost On. It's going to be great. Not everyone has that luxury, and it's unfortunate that's the case, but
You
that's
shouldn't. You shouldn't. I'm gonna cut you off there to say one quick thing. First, to answer to what Ragnar said, or excuse me, to Greenboard, you don't have to have friends. Check this out. One of the best players in Gundam on the American side, I believe his name is Sunhawk. I think it is SSO Sunhawk. I think it is.
oh
Yeah.
yes, Unlock.
He made a tweet about this before, and I disputed what he said, and then he basically countered my argument. Okay, he mentioned that for players to get better, you should play shuffle. And
Yes.
I asked him why. Why not just get a dedicated partner? Now, in my mind, my thought process was if you have a dedicated partner, you understand their play style, you understand their strengths and weaknesses, they should understand yours too with enough time. However, what happens if me and Blue, we know each other, we've played a couple times, right? And even though our track record is bad because I'm shit, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that me and him, we know what the hell we're doing, we're pretty good. And then we go into a lobby and it's all beginners. We're going to rape everybody. And it's not going to be a good look when me and him show up and we stomp. Sure, we're going to have fun, but we're probably going to have a couple of players there that are just going to lose all sorts of confidence and not want to play the game. That's not fun. Sure, maybe me and Blue are having fun, but everybody else is getting their asses kicked. They're just getting stomped. There's no point in wanting to play against this. People are going to want to leave. So that's where a shuffle lobby comes in. Because not only are you playing with the suit that you want to play, but the matches are being mixed up. So you're getting different partners all the time. But not only are you getting different partners all the time to keep the matches fresh, to keep it from somebody just dominating, but most importantly, you're learning to play with different players, with different suits, different play styles, different tendencies. That's going to make you a better player. And then that's also going to take the burden of losing away from you. Because you can just say, you know what, I'm not used to playing with this partner. So instead of focusing so much on what the partner is doing, you're focusing more on what you can do to be better yourself and what you can do to be a better teammate. And not so
Very
much
well put.
and not so much fuck, my partner's playing like shit, I need to carry him. Or fuck, I'm just playing with a bunch of scrubs. Now you're focusing on yourself. When you keep the thought you're right, sorry about that, Blue. When you don't want to stomp everybody. You don't want to just go into a match and stomp. When you're just going into a game and just stomping everybody, you're not really learning. If anything, all you're really doing is you're just stomping. You're just quote unquote having fun, but you're not really getting better, are you? So basically, what he said was what Sunhawk said was that prevents people from just walking into a room and dominating and just obliterating everybody, as opposed to you know what? Let me go in there, let me learn.
Yeah, you know what? I actually wholly agree with that. I think, again, my mindset that I had was from an enfranchised player. I'm at the point where I understand the game now. So where I'm going to be more comfortable with learning is with a set partner so I can develop from there. But yeah, someone who's starting from the ground up, Shuffle is easily the best way to just learn the game and learn how the game plays, how matches flow, how all of that stuff ends up going down in a match. And it gives you, like you said, the variety of suits and costs. You're going to get the good stuff, but occasionally you're going to play 3K, you're going to get paired with another 3K, and you have to learn about double 3K and why that sucks. But you're learning. You're still learning through all of that.
In a way, it's shuffle is also controlled chaos. So you're pretty much dealing with like people either fooling around or people just playing it seriously. Some people running with like random alls. Some people just running with their main suits. There's a whole lot of variables that contribute to how you can learn the game in so many different situations that it contributes greatly to like a full scale in learning the game completely. And you're dealing with like different experiences, different play styles. Some people might even be just trolling for the fun of it, but you're gonna find ways to counter that troll soon enough.
Yeah, for sure.
All
But
right, so let me get to what Ragnar just said here. So Ragnar just posted on his on a very eventually he picked up Gundam Versus on sale when it was on sale. He figured he was going to be fine because of the fact that he had gotten experience by playing Next Plus, and that he basically ended up getting steamrolled. And that when he won, it was mainly his partner doing all the work. So here's what you need to do. I'm going to use a fighting game example for you. But also, let me say this, Rag. It sounds like you like the game, and it does sound like you want to improve it. It's good. Consider Maxiboost on a clean slate. You're starting over. The game is going to be new. You have your experience from the previous game. So you should be a little better now than you were before. Now, when you're playing the game, what you're going to do is you're going to pick a 2000 or a 2.5. Because when you play a 2000, for example, you can make mistakes. You can die, and it's fine, right? Now, your goal, let's say you're playing with a 3K. All right? Let me give you a different perspective of how to look at this, okay? Put it this way. Let me give you an example. Me and Nitsuano are playing, right? Nits is playing on HFX, and I'm playing on, let's say, Gundam Mark II. I'm a 2K. The match starts. I have one goal before anything else. Nitsuano is the 3K. I'm the 2K. The general flow of battle is the 3K should die first. If Nitsuano dies first, I'm helping him win. Because by he dying first, that means that whenever that he will not be overcosted. So that's already a victory for you right there. That's already you doing something proper. That's already you helping your teammate. All right. Another thing that you can do to pay attention is, let me give you another example. I'm using Buster Gundam. Nitz is playing HFX. And now we have let's say we have an Exia. So Exia is pretty annoying to cut. No, is it Exia or is it Quanta? I think it's Quanta.
Quanta,
right?
Yeah.
Both are pretty hard to
Yeah,
cut.
both of them.
Yeah.
Both are pretty
So,
difficult.
so he's playing the enemy is playing a pretty hard to cut melee. So I know this. So I'm gonna have a beam ready to go, so that the instant this guy goes and catches Nits, I can cut him immediately. So even though he'll take a little bit of damage, I'm minimizing it because I'm cutting properly. I'm doing my job. So think about it that way. Have your objectives in mind and just relax. All right.
A good way to word what
look
you're
at
saying
it.
is... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, look at the small things that you're supposed to do, because that's how you translate to getting wins in fighting games. Also, you have to get the fundamentals down, the basics down, and do your suit's job properly. As long as you're doing those things and paying attention to what you're supposed to do, then you're doing well. That can be something so simple as not tunneling, which is something that is very easy to happen in a game as intense as Gundam Versus. You want to make sure that you're constantly switching targets, that you're keeping an eye on your radar, that you're not, overheating like you're not supposed to, things of that nature. So focus on what you're doing. Okay? If you feel that you're not playing well enough, sit back, objectively look at your matches, and then think about what you should have done and what you could have done better. All right? Because there's going to be games where you get carried. Learning to accept that is one step. But then learning to make sure that you're doing what you can do is another. So look at it in a different way instead of just winning. That was my main fault in the in when I played before. I would focus too much on winning. I would get upset every single time I'm playing, and almost every single freaking session, I would have at least one 10-game losing, and I would just be upset. Even when I'm doing well, even when I'm winning a bunch, I still feel like I'm being useless and just not playing well. I know exactly where you're coming from, dude. Trust me. But take it from an old guy who gets salty and who's trying to improve. You're going down the wrong path. You don't want to think that. All right? You're going to lose a lot. You're aware of this already. But just because you don't feel like you're playing well, when you're winning, you shouldn't feel as down. Okay? If you won and your teammate carried, accept it. But think about it this way. He's the 3K and you're the 2K, and he won the match because you didn't overcost. Guess what? even if your contribution was minimal, that alone was probably a huge factor in the win because everybody here knows if a 3K gets overcosted, how much health are you coming back with? You get hit with one beam rifle from a 3K, you're probably dead. So don't think that just because you're not playing exceptionally well that you're not helping. Just you not overcosting your teammate, that can be enough to get the win, bro. So think about it that way. It doesn't have to be a fancy contribution. It doesn't have to be a sick combo. It doesn't have to be you cutting perfectly every time. Just you not overcosting your partner can be enough to be a worthwhile contribution, dude.
It's always the smaller things.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's always the smaller things that kind of contribute to the big developments.
Yeah, I like that small victories mentality. That's actually a very good mentality to have. I've never thought of it that way before.
If anything, try using a different suit. All right. If I can give you a recommendation for a suit that I like using that's good for being slippery, like I'm not too good with it, but I know there was a couple of videos I have on my YouTube channel where a friend was playing Strike Nor. Try Strike Nor. Strike Nor has a lot of moves where he will dodge and shoot, and then he also has a special move where he specifically throws a zip line to move somewhere, and he can use it to move backwards or sideways, and that's independent of boost. So try that. Try a suit like that that'll be good at being slippery and helping you stay alive.
And I guess the
Yes,
GVS
just like
equivalent.
that. Just because, is that the reason why I got carried? Because I just didn't overcost? No. Here's the thing. What I'm saying is, if your teammate won because you didn't overcost him, that's a good thing. Because that means that if your teammate was carrying, you not overcosting him gave him the opportunity to carry you. Because remember, when you get overcosted, you're coming back with nothing. Okay, and then certain 3K suits, for example, Penelope is not going to come back with the whatchamacallit that it has. When you have X1 full cloth, when it gets overcost, it's not coming back with the full cloth. X2, X1, none of those suits are coming back with the ABC mantle. Certain suits that come in with certain gimmicks at the ready, they're not coming back with those when they're overcosted. And 3Ks in particular are coming in with enough health to maybe survive a shot from a 2.5 or a 2K or a 1.5. But some 3Ks, they may just take them out in that one main shot.
I know we've moved on from the individual suit analysis, but on that note, Age FX getting overcosted isn't the end of the world because it typically comes back in FX burst if it gets overcosted.
Yeah. That sounds like a strength then. Actually, now that you mention it, it's gonna have that powered up mode as a backup measure.
Yes, and since it's immediately more mobile in that mode and has the shield option and the dash option, you can be very slippery when you come back overcosted. If you're like, okay, my teammate's full health, I just need to not die, you can do that with HFX. Yeah, sorry, I just gotta push my suit.
Yeah, okay,
So yeah,
and
man. Like I said, I mean, I think we did pretty good as far as covering Age FX. But I mean, when it came to the beginner part, that's how come I wanted to leave that question for, because that's kind of going to go into a topic that's beyond the suit. But that's actually kind of nice that you mentioned that it's actually pretty good at defending itself when it's overcosted, because it will have that power component available instead. That's actually a nice thing.
Yeah, that obviously won't happen if you're paired with like a 1.5k and then it just dies once and then you die. You'll just have enough health where you're not going to immediately spawn in yellow. But if you got a 2k or 2.5k partner, yeah, you'll come back overcosted enough to be an FX burst.
All right, so he asks 5. He has first and second are Barbatos, Pale Rider, EXS, and Thunder. I don't know which one of those suits are going to be an Emban. I know Barbatos is in.
yeah, I think
full armor.
aside from
TV.
Pale Rider, all the suits that you mentioned are both in GVS and Maxiboost On. So
if anything, I'm going to recommend a suit that's very easy mode to play, in my opinion. Ragnar. You can try Gunner Zaku. Gunner Zaku was a pretty safe pick in full boost. Hopefully, it remains the same in Emban.
I can
if
add
we
on to
all
that too. If you like Gunnerzaku, or maybe Gunnerzaku is just maybe not your speed, try Excelia, which is very, very similar
Yeah,
to Gunnerzaku,
it's
but
very
with a
solid.
slightly different set of tools.
yeah, I kind of want no. Oh no. Put it this way. Put it this way, Ragnar. I'm not trying to push you away from your suits because at the end of the day, pick with your dick. But what I'm saying is, sometimes trying one other suit to keep it fresh, that's gonna lead you to having perhaps a different mindset for the suits that you do play. Like let me give you a fighting game example. In my opinion, I feel everybody should learn to play Zangief. All right, everyone should learn to play Zangief because what you're gonna take away from playing Zangief is you're gonna learn that a lot of players are gonna tend to run away from you. So it'll teach you how to corner opponents. It'll teach you how to mess with people with the threat of a throw. And when you go back to whatever character you're playing, you're still gonna know how to walk an opponent down, how to abuse certain key normals, and you're still gonna have that throw game. So that's why I'm saying that.
And
So by you
specifically
trying a slightly, sorry, go ahead.
for Gunnerzaku and Excelia specifically, the thing you'll be learning from those is landing punishes. Those suits excel in landing punishing, and that is a good way to learn landing punishing is by playing those suits.
Okay, no, Ragnar. So here's the thing: is Barbatos' fourth form a melee focused suit by any chance, guys? I don't know anything about regular
No,
fourth form.
Are we
no.
talking about the regular just Barbados?
Yeah,
Because
the
no,
regular
that suit's a back.
regular
He says
Barbatos is
Barbatos
more of
fourth
a
form is a 2K. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that the 2K version is absolutely a back. It's a back that wants shooting burst.
Okay. So here's the thing, Ragnar. When you're playing a melee suit, think of it as you playing Zangief.
Barbados is not a melee suit.
Oh, okay, my bad. Oh, it's not. Whoops.
It's not.
It is a
Oh,
hella gunner suit.
ooh, I
It just
didn't
has
know
strong.
that.
It just has strong melee
Mm.
options, but all in all, you're just picking your
Oh.
spot.
Yeah, its gun is definitely its strong suit, and that's why shooting
Uh,
burst is typically the preferred for that. Lupus
Here's the
can
thing.
go a little bit
Here's the
more
thing,
on
Ragnar.
melee.
Here's the thing, Ragnar. I think you're looking at it the wrong way, because you're saying here, if my partner is a 3K, it means I need to do as much as I can without dying first. No. Here's the thing. Let me give you an example. The 3K, right? An example of the 3K is that the 3K is forcing the action. The 3K has the boost, has the HP, typically has the weapons to force situation, to create openings for the back to punish, things of that nature, right? In some cases, the 2K or the 2.5 can create the things for him for the 3K. So for the most part, follow your teammate and see what they're doing. Okay?
Yeah,
When
as a
you're
back,
as the back, your job is to follow the front. Okay? Your first mission, in my opinion, as the back, stay in formation. On that note, I'm going to tell you front players something immediately. There's a thought process that I used to have, and this resulted in me getting into a spat with another player. This is a bad thought process. Never think this. I'm the 3K. I'm the front. Keep up. Don't ever think that. Remember, you as a 3K have more boost than your partner. That doesn't work. Okay? You're the one that enforces the formation. But again, enforce. Remember the E and the N in the front. You're not forcing the formation. You're not forcing it. You're enforcing it. So you have the formation. Your back wants to keep the formation. But if they can't keep up with you, because that means you're probably overextending. So dial it back. Anyway, you as the back, Ragnar, this is a bit complicated to say because it really depends on the suit. But you generally want to stay with your partner and see what they're doing. Okay? If your front is basically trying to force an opponent to do something, you want to see if you can get a landing punish, or depending on what the opponent's partner's doing, keep them off. That's why you want to pay attention to your lock on, because the game is going to let you know if you and your partner are double locking an opponent. So keep that in mind. That's one way of saying. It's one way of knowing who your partner's targeting. So you got to pay attention about that. You have more time, in my opinion, to be aware of the map and who's aiming at who. You have more time to do that as the back. So that's what you have to do. You're the back. You have to have your fronts back in those situations. So even though backing is generally easier than fronting, you should still be paying attention as to what they're doing. All right.
Yeah, a good point I want to jump on that is being a back, you don't have to always be pushing a button. It's okay if you're kind of just flying around, maintaining a good movement pattern, and using just your movement alone to control the flow of the match. Sometimes you don't
Especially
need a
for
gun.
melees.
What was that about melee?
Especially for melees.
Oh
Melees
yeah,
have the like. Put
especially
it
for
this
melee.
way. Put it this way. A 3K front, like for example, Epion, half the time he doesn't even have to do anything. Just him getting close to using nothing. Oh crap! I gotta go away.
Exactly.
You know that scares them. It's the same thing with like Exio or other back melee suits. They're scaring you into making a mistake so they can beat the living daylights out of you. You know. So sometimes you don't have to do anything. Just you moving properly is, or the threat of you doing something is enough to get them to move. And then next thing you know, the front gets to score a landing.
Yeah, that's
Or I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned before, like the video I'm working on to teach people the game. I'm not going to be going very in depth about controls and like, oh yeah, so this is sub, this is BC, this is, but like I'm just gonna list that out and say like these are your buttons. They're different from most suits. I'm gonna talk to you about movement and the different types of movement and the ways you can move in this game and how to move optimally because I feel that is both your most important offensive and defensive weapon in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're gonna be fine, Ragnar. Put it this way, all right? Once the game drops, stick around with us. Okay, you're gonna have people here that are gonna be more than willing and more than happy to help you out, dude.
Yeah, like
I know
I
how you
mentioned the
feel.
friends thing. Oh, I'm sorry
Yeah.
for cutting you off.
No.
But I
Go
mentioned the
ahead.
friends thing, but I was going to transition into if you don't have an immediate group of friends to play with, join the Discords. Go talk to people and meet people in there. There's always people who are going to want to play Gundam, and I would at least want to hope that there's always going to be people who want to teach people. Not everyone's going to want to teach people, but I'd like to believe that there's at least some people, probably at least a minimum us, that would teach people if asked, or
Or at
would,
least talk.
Yep.
yeah, at least talk with somebody and give suggestions, give pointers, ask people. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to say, hey, does anyone want to like review matches with me? Anyone want to open up a small lobby so I can practice a little bit? That's
Or if you're upset and you need to vent, we're around too. I
yeah.
would like to mention that too. There's been plenty of times where I've been upset with my play, but I've been frustrated, but I've been angry. And instead of me blowing up like a dumbass like I've done in the past, I would just go in the back. I would PM a couple of guys in particular, my little inner circle of people who do put up on my dumb stuff and would help me let me just not so much be like a dumbass because I've gotten away from that, but at least if I have a concern or I'm just frustrated, that they'll at least give me a hand. The other reason why I wanted to recommend that you try another suit, is again, not to push you away from your favorites. I will never push you away from your favorites. I don't care if they're bottom tier. I will never do that. But just because by trying another suit, that's going to open you up. Because originally, I only intended to play with my favorites. And that was literally just Alex and Zaku and Bernie's Zaku. I honestly was only going to play with them. And then I never saw Gundam X. But then I tried playing Versargo Chess Break, and I fell in love with the suit. Then I tried Hambrabi, and I had fun with the suit. And then I tried Turn X, and even though I don't consider myself to be very good with the suit, I enjoy the hell out of it, and it's my primary 3K. So sometimes branching out, that's gonna also make you do better with the suits that you like. I guarantee it. It's going to help you.
Yep. I mean, I'm the kind of person that plays like a crap ton. I've played the entire roster at times, but the main suits that I usually use kind of define my playstyle to some degree. But everything else, I just kind of have a bit of fun, experiment a little bit more, see what kind of works, and ultimately find like the baseline simple way to play a suit. And then I just develop from it afterwards.
Yeah, like you don't need to go and just every suit that you pick up, you need to become an immediate expert on it. And if you don't know everything about the suit, then why are you even playing it? It's
Yeah.
okay to just pick up a suit and say, like, hey, I want to match with this a bit, maybe learn how it moves, what its buttons do, and get used to its play style, and then move back onto your main. You had your fun, but you learn from it. You
Yeah.
don't need to know everything to learn from a suit.
And on top of that, you kind of learn like the different ways you could play it, the different counterplay that happens if you're going up against another person. See what shortcomings it has as well as strengths, and you kind of merge that information into like a bit of a mental database to see how you can counter that if you're playing your own suit or if you're playing another suit that would give it either trouble or help it out if your partner's using it as well. So it plays in a variety of ways into learning the game proper.
I think maybe something I can mention as I wouldn't. This is a. I don't know how to feel about this tech. I don't even know if I call it a tech, but for new players, if you're concerned about what burst to use, I think defaulting to extended burst is an okay thing to do because of its versatility and mainly its survivability. Being able to half burst out of a combo is not irrelevant, and it can help compensate if you're not confident in your abilities. Like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to maintain like a position during this match. I might get hit. Well, if you're in extend burst and you do end up like screwing up formation, you got hit, half burst out, get out, go back to your back position, reassess the situation. Don't freak out and get back to normal.
Yep.
That's another thing. I think that's another thing that's going to be really helpful for beginners. There's a clear burst option for you, and even then, it'll still be good even when you become a better player.
Yeah, like remember back to what I said, Age of X's preferred is extended burst because of the little minute features that extended burst offers. Like when you go into later detail, yeah, it starts to show its other benefits, but on a surface level, it's a great burst for new players.
Well, I think we probably covered quite a bit with Age of X. Don't you guys agree?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I guess if you're willing to stick around for like the EXS portion, you could just let the viewers know what's your social media, your YouTube or Twitter or anything else you have.
I'll definitely stick around. I love talking about Gundam, so I'll probably jump in with a couple anecdotes here and there. But yeah, Twitter, you can find me mainly for Gundam stuff, NitsuanoVS, and it's the same on YouTube as well. As of right now on YouTube, I just have some match videos from both Versus and Maxiboost. Nothing groundbreaking yet, but I am working on a tutorial video for movement and making sure that you can get into the game at a decent level and at least be able to move in a way that's leads you forward into greater learning.
Okay. Definitely looking forward to that. I'm also doing some. It's probably more geared towards GVS, but I'm still doing my bullet point tutorials. I don't know what happened there outside with the cats, but yeah, I've been working on that as well. I kind of been on and off with it as of late, but I might get back into it a little bit more, see what I can do, and hopefully move on to like the combat section.
I don't know when the video is gonna get done, but it'll get done before Maxiboost comes out, so there's at least that.
I might even bleed over to Maxiboost at that point, because at the end of the day, it's still going to be the fundamentals in general that's pretty much present in GVS and all the other games too. So you can't really go wrong with that. Okay, moving on to EXS. So I guess since I do play this suit, it would probably be the best idea for Densuo to kind of give me the questions, and we could go from there. It'll be an interesting way of going about it, but nevertheless, it'll probably frame things. You don't wanna come on.
I'm gonna ask the first question more than anything before anything.
Okay.
What is EXS and why is it the ugliest suit in the entire franchise?
First of all, fuck you. Second of all, EXS is the beautiful suit. All we have we can appreciate is beauty, all right? But
Ah man. No, let me stop. No, this suit looks fine.
yeah,
The so the AXS, if I'm not mistaken, it is a 3K suit. But if I'm not mistaken, isn't the 3K isn't that suit like wasn't it like one of the first suits designed to be a pure back suit?
in a way, yes. EXS is part and parcel a full-on back suit because its melee attacks are pretty short standard. Doesn't have a whole lot of flair to it, but everything from its sniping attacks to its sub shot has really good tracking, and the fact that it has a high count of its main attack, which is 10 shots, is just enough for suppression. So it is a really good back suit in that regard.
The what led you to pick the suit?
Three things. One, it just caught my attention because of how imposing it was. Second was the theme that it had. And third, I don't know what it was about it when I first played it, but the way that it interacts at a distance kind of resonated with me because my playstyle at times is more of like an offensive defense. So I like to either weave in and out of range, just pick some spots here and there, and mostly use melee as a last resort or a means to kind of apply pressure.
All right, and then one more question I want to peg you on.
Hmm.
So, the pilot for EXS is notoriously bad, just like you. How do you feel about so? No, I'm kidding. I was gonna ask you about that. Do you think it's interesting that about the fact that the most notable pilot for the suit is actually AI?
The fact that it's an AI is probably the best thing for it because no one cares about your roots.
Yeah, I thought that was actually kind of interesting because from what I'm understanding, like in the story, like the pilot is completely incompetent, right? Or is it just that he's just getting overwhelmed, or what? Was it that he was just that bad?
I don't know since I haven't read Sentinel myself, but I guess if it was, I think I'll just leave it at that. I honestly don't know much about the character.
All right. Oh man, because I was thinking it would have been a little more interesting in the game if they would have had the pilot be the actual pilot, but then when you activate Alice, when you burst, excuse me, that it's Alice taking over.
Hmm.
Now, I know we didn't get to play. I don't think you played EXS when I was playing with you when we went to Anime NYC. But how did you feel about it going from full boost to Mac to M-Bon?
It was. I would say it was relatively the same, aside from its loadout differences. Because if I look back at the changes, thanks to Cosmic, HP reduced from 680 to 650. That's not bad. It's a negligible issue. Red lock range reduced. It's not as overwhelmingly powerful at a distance, unless if you're using AB a lot. Even then, it's still not a bad nerf. Sub muzzle correction reduced. That might be a bit of a small nerf here and there. Because in full boost, the way that the sub actually hits, it tracked pretty aggressively at a certain distance, and it came out pretty fast too. So, in a way, it's a bit of a self defense. But the new things that were added, the AC variations, gives it a lot of more of a self defense tool aside from its counter, which is pretty slow. And the incoms BC going from 3, which only lasted for the entire match until you use them. So, for example, in full boost, having access to 3 incoms meant that you had to make 3 good reads on how the person landed. Once you use all 3 of them, that's it. You can't really replenish them until you die.
Even with burst?
Even with burst, it's single life. So that's why you're somewhat out of the fight, but not completely out of the fight at the same time. It's just not, you just don't have the looming threat of someone trying to punish your landing the moment that you land the wrong way. But now that his incoms reload in exchange for the amount that you have, it's a much better. It's a better exchange, in all honesty.
So, and wait, so hold on, just to make sure I'm understanding properly. So that means that in M-Bond now they do recover ammo?
Yeah, they do recover ammo. You just only get 1 shot of it, but it's just enough for you to still stay in the fight.
Oh, okay, so it's only 1 ammo.
Yes.
And is it still the same way it was in full boost that the ammo is not expended unless you actually fire it?
Yes.
This isn't really related to the suit, but I'm kind of curious on a personal level. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer it one round but reloads, or do you prefer 3 per life?
1 round reload. Pretty much free at that point.
I think it would make sense because I mean, if it's supposed to be a back suit, that means it doesn't want to die.
Yeah,
So
you wouldn't
you
want any
being
kind of
stuck,
resource
if
being
you,
gone.
hmm?
You wouldn't want any resource being gone for the entire match.
Yeah, that sounds too debilitating.
Yeah.
That sounds way too debilitating, actually. So yeah, I would probably have to agree with him. Having 1 ammo, but it reloads, being a lot better than 3, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. EXS does have some really viable comps. Most of the time, it would probably involve a very aggressive front suit to make up for EXS's lack of ability to go in. Even with burst, you still want to treat it in a passive manner, but only as a last resort that you want to go in because its melee does change and it can be a bit more aggressive, but you wouldn't want to hazard it too much unless if you want to overcost or lead into very bad punishes.
In burst, you still have shooting burst, which is, I'm sure, plenty good on XS.
Yeah, it's pretty much the de facto burst for it,
Wait,
especially with
which one?
its
Which burst? Excuse me.
shooting burst.
Shooting. Well, that makes, because ideally you shouldn't be getting caught anyway.
Yeah, and the fact that you have 10 shots in your main, you can just pretty much spam it all day, and if they're blocking, they have to hold it.
I have one question. If I'm not mistaken, EXS had EXS had a flight mode, but I don't really remember seeing it used very often.
I wouldn't say
Is it not good?
I wouldn't say it's completely useless because you could use it as a bit of a short form mobility tool to kind of get a bit of distance. But it does have some of its benefits because you can readily activate incomes without having to be in a vernier state. And you also have the same kind of properties for your regular attacks too. So you can use your sub shot with the same kind of tracking. But the fact that it's such a big target, you wouldn't want to do it liberally.
So okay, no, I got you. 'Cause I guess I was thinking about it in terms of like hand Robbie, where you kind of I felt like I always wanted to be in flight mode.
I think in EXVS 2 has a barrel roll as opposed to max boost and full boost, where it's just a simple flying fortress.
Okay, I got you. Optimal partners.
I guess Well, I would say if we're talking, say, Maxiboost wise, I would say a good portion of the G Gundam suits. Also, I would say, well, I guess the best way I could put it is any aggressive suit that has a lot of mobility to compensate for EXS's lack of mobility. Anything that can kind of get the party started, be a little bit ignorant and just bust up formations, while
I
EXS
feel
is
like
just.
I know the answer to this question, but I'm gonna ask anyway.
Mhm.
Is double 3K viable with excess?
Yes,
Ooh, good question.
yes,
I was actually thinking about that.
I would definitely say so because there are some 3Ks that benefit from playing a front roll better than any other suit, and the fact that there's a back suit in general means that the dynamic can change greatly. So you have two powerful suits, one specializing in fronting, one specializing in backing. If either one is at low health, you can trust the back suit to kind of cover for as long as possible. So whenever the healthier suit comes back in from being shot down, you still have enough time in order to either escape or do some delay tactics, all while doing damage at the same time. That's what I feel.
All right. I
So,
remember.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
So with that being said, then
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't EXS be a pretty decent suit for shuffle then? Because now I'm thinking if you get a 3K partner, then hey, we're in business. But no, I guess not because if a person's playing a defensive suit, then
Yeah, like you could get partnered with a 3K, but what if that 3K is HFX?
Yeah, that's another thing. But
true.
at the same time, it all depends on like the player and at the long run. Because most of the time, I, for some apparent reason, like to get up to people's faces with EXS. I'm that
Just barrel
oddball.
stuff them.
Yeah, sometimes I just even use his CC8B in order to just punish either landings or just create some space. But also to play a bit of a psychological game too.
Hey, this suit with the guns is getting up in my face. What the hell's happening?
Get booted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I can definitely see where the double 3K matchup would go pretty terribly. Like if you get HFX or even worst case Zabanya.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Zabanya XS would just turn the game into Toho, and I'm not sure if that's actually a bad thing. If there's just so much carpet fire, is it actually bad?
No, actually, Zabaya can kind of cover mainly because of the shield bits. Zabaya has more defensive options than EXS, so the fact that it can cover the fact that it can cover each other pretty well is pretty much the defining factor.
I guess that makes sense too with what you mentioned about depending on who got lower first, because both of those suits can transition pretty easily if they need to.
Yeah. Well, let me see if I can find some match videos of EXS to put on. Dynamics would be a better fit for EXS? Yes, because both are pretty much taking a bit of a sniping role, but Dynamics can get the most damage out of it, especially punching landings.
But how are you going to maintain distance? Aren't they both keep away suits?
Oh, yeah. Though Dynamics can kind of play a bit of the close range game at times because of the full shield, and it does have some good melee combos too, just to make up for that.
Hmm.
Any other questions?
The Now you said that you prefer a G Gundam suit. Which one?
Either God Gundam or Master. Maybe even Nobel too. But those are the things that I can think of at the moment.
All right. What do you think is the main weakness of the suit?
Ooh, I could pretty much go into a good number of them. And I've experienced it many times over. But one blaring weakness is the size of the damn thing.
Easy target.
Easy target, and another thing. There's a thing for anyone that's new playing the game. There's a thing called vectors. Basically, it's the angle of attack. So if you're facing an opponent that is pretty much on the same plane as you, you're on equal vectors. If someone is above you, the vector changes, and it depends on which attack you can use that can track easily or would be hard to hit. The thing with EXS, that giant backpack of his is a detriment to him. Because if someone is close and they go straight up, you can barely see anything. So you have a really large blind spot right in front of you.
I never
That
even
sound
considered
frustrating.
that kind of camera fuckery. That's actually kind of messed up.
Yeah, that's why it's a good idea to stay as far away from the fight as possible, but stay in a distance close enough so you can enact a bit of your pressure. But at the same time, EXS cannot handle pressure at all. Even with the new AC, it's still a problem for him. His counter is pretty slow, so you have to do it off of a read, and even then, it's slow enough for someone else to just double step and just punish it afterwards. The AC Gyro is pretty nice. Good for waving and landing targets that are either moving around side to side or moving straight ahead. And that's why I feel like it might be a good counter against Bale's Super Dash. Because it's a focused attack. It's a Gyro. It's something that would last longer than the dash can muster, even at a certain distance. But if you're dealing with like suits, say like either God or Gaia or anything that can cover a great amount of distance at a short amount of time, the moment you get knocked down, you're in trouble as EXS. You have to constantly flail relentlessly to try to get out of the situations. And if the player can anticipate every direction or every possible action that you try to escape with, you're done.
Getting knocked down is a bad thing. More than usual for the suit, you know.
Yeah, it's compounded with this suit in particular.
I always feel like this suit's also really, really good at landing punishes. Actually,
Yeah, that's pretty much its major damage point.
because it has that. I think that's its AC, right? Or am I thinking about the wrong shot?
Yeah, the AC.
Which shot it? The really fast sniper shot. Which one is that?
Yeah, that's the 5 AC. In the context of Maxiboost On, it's 5 AC. Or no, not 5 AC. It's either 5 or 2 AC, whichever one. Oh wait, never mind. 6 AC has a slide then shoot. 2 AC has a Garoby, but 5 AC is the regular sniper shot. So that's good for landing punishes. And certain picks too.
I could throw you the next question. What do you think about the suit's difficulty? The XS, at least to me, seems like a fairly difficult suit, but I'd like to see your thoughts on it.
I would say it's intermediate in terms of like, if you can manage playing at a distance, it's somewhat easy to play with. but on a wholesale level, it is hard. Mainly because you don't have that many good self-defense options. Your entire playstyle is relegated around staying at a border of your red lock range so you can either harass or possibly disrupt formations. So that's why it's intrinsic that you have someone that is good with fronting to kind of cover your ass, or even get the party started. Because EXS on its own, despite its imposing presence, does not initiate fights effectively. You have to kind of plot things out, watch how the opponent moves. You can kind of play a little bit crazy once you have a burst, but even then, you still want to be a bit on the conservative side as to determining how you want to punish the landings, how you want to punish bad movement or bad approaches. Because the risk and reward is really good. It's just the risk is too high for it to actually warrant that.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
So bare minimum is 2.5 for this suit then?
Yeah, it's pretty much a pseudo 2.5.
No. I mean, as in for partners, it has to have a 2.5 minimum.
Yes. If you want the optimal performance, then a 2.5 is ideal. There are some 2Ks you could probably get away with, maybe even a 1.5. Maybe like a Freak Kai would be one of them.
Maybe even like what I mentioned with the HFX strategies of having either Susa or Rigazi kind of
Yeah.
just go in, start some shit, and have excess in the back, sniping away at things.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Or anything that has like a small power boost or something that would have a clear threat indication, so it can kind of peel some of the opponents away from you. Anything that might pose a bit of a distraction would be an ideal thing, because at the end of the day, you want EXS to be out of the cut.
Oh my god.
And if anyone has any questions in the chat, please feel free to ask. Or are we kind of close to done with the EXS section?
What would be the burst of you said shooting burst, right?
Yeah, shooting burst is the optimal burst of choice.
Okay. As you mentioned, the main thing that it's really good at is doing punish. Its weakness, however, it's not very good at getting pressured. You said you prefer a 2.5 or higher for a partner.
Yeah.
What was changed from full boost to maxi? You said that it got an AC Garo, and what else?
We got an AC
and
Garo.
The change between the income from being finite to having one ammo that reloads, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It also has a step snipe too. It has a step snipe. It's 6 AC, so it takes a bit of a sidestep and then it shoots afterwards.
So like the G Arcane?
Yes, to some degree, yeah.
And you said that it wants to have shooting burst above all.
Yes.
No argument for extend. Well, it sounds like fighting is out of the question.
Yeah, fighting, I mostly do that as a bit of a joke. You can probably ask Chex Guy about that one. And
Even
So
me,
that
I could only think
mm,
extend burst would be like if you're really scared and you're trying to learn the suit and you really want that half burst, because I feel like the perks you get from shooting burst with excess just far outweigh anything you'd get with e burst.
exactly.
mhm.
And even then, I guess the only situation I would use like stem burst is if I'm dealing with an overly aggressive suit. But even then, his sub shot covers a very wide range. Like it's a freakishly wide range, despite its tracking being reduced. So it can be used as a bit of a self defense tool at a certain distance.
Okay. Um, no, I think that covers everything then. Sounds like this suit is definitely also not exactly beginner friendly.
Nope.
Although now that I think about it, that also makes me ask this.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like this suit might actually be good as a. Would you say this suit would be good for a player who primarily plays back and wants to get their feet wet with a 3K? Would this be a decent suit for them?
It would be one of the decent suits. And the main reason I say that is because it has a fast fall, which is its CSA.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason why I didn't really mention that much about the melee attacks and bursts is because most of the time you're not going to be getting into close range fights. Even against other backs, that's never a good idea. You always want to keep a distance.
Yeah, and if I remember the excesses melee, not only was it probably very difficult to hit, but I don't think it does a whole lot of damage either. The combos aren't even very long.
Yeah, it's pretty short. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it does have a lot of multi-hitting attacks. But at the same time, it's not fast enough in order to close the distance. So you're better off just sticking with it being an install rather than a bona fide performance boost. Yeah, it's pretty much only for memeing at that point if you want to melee, which I have done.
Mhm.
Like when I first started full boost, probably when I first started even hearing about the MyFo beginner lobbies, I started with EXS with Assault Burst. Let that sink in for a moment.
Yeah, that's quite the combination.
And I just went in like crazy with it too. Still did a bit of a range play, but most of the time was just getting in. But yeah,
You could definitely do worse with F burst. At least XS has melee. You could be Zabania where you literally don't have melee. So if you put F burst, it's very literally useless.
hmm I have no guns, but I want to punch someone. That's pretty much the buying at that point. Because at least Raphael could do that. It could
Yeah.
legit punch you. But I guess if anyone has any other questions, comments, concerns, I guess we can end it here.
I think we're good there. Yeah. Um, so these are two. We, we started off with a pair of 3Ks. Not a bad way to start it.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid start. I guess we need to figure out what might be some other suits that could be covered. Though I might be leaving that up to either a vote or some suggestions from the communities or anybody else that might be interested. But all in all, I think we're off to a good start with this little spotlight.
And hopefully the all this does just help build more hype.
Mm-hmm. Because if Bamco's not going to do it, the community will.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Likewise.
Thanks for coming along. Actually,
I know I'm happy that I'm the first guest, and I don't want to prod already, but if you guys want me back for more, I'll gladly talk about Excelia as well. I mentioned that suit earlier. That is, Excelia is the suit I probably know the second most.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sounds like a plan.
Yep, definitely sounds like a plan.
This guy went and popped a cherry, and he already went in seconds.
I'm already wanting seconds, man.
Oh, going from the teaser to the pleaser
Yeah,
already.
the suit's like F91 shirt, Greenboy. That sounds good. We definitely gotta touch on some beginner friendly suits. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess we could probably get Chuck's guy or someone else that might be interested in helping out with that, since he does play F91 to some degree. But yeah.
Oh yeah, sounds good. So, thanks everybody for dropping by. Really do appreciate it, and look forward to more.
All right. It's always going to be. Oh, and one other thing that we forgot to mention: the discussion nights. It's now going to be referred as a day in the hangar at this point. We forgot to mention that at the very beginning, but it's better than now than never to kind of mention this. So hopefully the objective of this particular podcast is not only talk about like general topics, but also mostly kind of talk about topics closely relating to me and Denso. So either anime, mecha, anything of the sort. It could be no holds barred or something that may even border. Who knows? There's a lot of potential behind this, but we hope to make this a regular thing every Wednesday. Maybe I'll have some special episodes if either one of us is available. Maybe like on Friday, or who knows. We could just kind of plan things out, see if that can be a regular thing. But all in all, we're glad that everybody's enjoying the show, that everybody's enjoying the camaraderie that's going on between all of us. And if there's any other topics that you want us to cover, or something interesting that has happened that you want our opinions on, just shoot us a message either on Discord or Twitter, and we'll be able to respond if one of us is available. And Suano, if you know anybody else that might be interested in participating in the suit spotlights, don't hesitate to kind of bring them on over. We'd be more than happy to.
I'm gonna bring this up to the group of friends I typically play with. I've got some friends who definitely know what they're doing, and if they're willing, I'll try and see if they can talk about some of their mains.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Greenboard, we'll definitely talk about We'll try to grab some other shoots. Also, we're gonna even after the game drops. I actually do want to keep doing. I don't want this to just be something specific for building hype.
Yeah, we want to keep
basically. I want this to continue.
Yeah, we want to keep the momentum going even after the release.
Yeah, Gundam's got a lot of suits, so yeah, you gotta have a lot of content to work through. I don't
Yep.
think that's the issue, yeah.
183 plus the 3 DLC suits that are being backported from EXVS 2. So that's 186 in total. Goddamn.
With those 3, guaranteed more DLC at this point, probably.
And here I was thinking that there wasn't going to be any kind of DLC for Maxiboost On, but I guess I was naive.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they won't, but I'll welcome it.
Yeah, as long as they change up the DLC practices so it's a bit more streamlined it's a bit preferable for people to catch up on it with a single pack rather than having to buy it individually. That would probably be for the best. But something tells me that's not going to happen. I want to be optimistic, but I have to be realistic as well.
Oh, well, things are already looking up. If the beta was anything to show, they might not be selling the Navis. They may already be there and maybe in-game unlocks instead of having to buy them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Alright, I guess I'll catch everybody later.
Yep, thanks again for having me.
No problem. And if anyone's in the chat, I know Gail, you probably went into my Discord. Just make sure to read the rules and DM me after you're done. That's just my little verification process to make sure no knuckleheads just waltz on in and cause too much of a ruckus. So, just a little bit of a side note there. But catch you guys next Wednesday. I might even stream again with PSO2 North America. Might get some more time in that. But yeah, I'll probably catch you guys later. No, I just need to find an outro theme. That'll be for next time then.